Mom? Oh, Rob. Just had an awful nightmare. I just dreamt we never finished filming Back to the Future.
We didn't finish that.
I'm holding a VHS copy of the 1989 sequel, Back to the Future 2, starring Jason Stone from Mars Attacks and Stuart Little, Michael J. Fox.
I know I make it big, but what do I become, like a rich rock star?
Doc Brown from A Million Ways to Die in the West, and Doc Brown from Funny or Die's Donald Trump, The Art of the Deal, the movie, Christopher Lloyd.
What are we going to say? That we're time travelers? They have us committed.
And Sarah from Leaving Las Vegas, and Allie from The Karate Kid, Elizabeth Shue.
I'm in the future.
In the time it takes to rewind this tape, I'm gonna answer all of your questions for the second time. Like, why don't you make like a tree and get out of here?
It's leave, you idiot. Make like a tree and leave. You sound like a damn fool when you say it wrong.
Did old Biff really go back to November 12th, 1955?
Unbelievable that old Biff could have chosen that particular date. It could mean that that point in time inherently contains some sort of cosmic significance, almost as if it were the temporal junction point for the entire space-time continuum. On the other hand, it could just be an amazing coincidence.
And we're gonna try to make this a funny episode, but what if we don't succeed?
We must succeed.
I answer all of this and more on this part dos edition of VHS Breakdown.
Something very familiar about all this.
I'm Miguel Jose. I own a ton of movies, but they're all on VHS. No one wants to buy them. I can't even give them away. So I'm gonna watch these films and break them down one last time.
The intent here is to gain a clear perception of humanity. Where we've been, where we're going, the pitfalls and the possibilities, the perils and the promise. Perhaps even an answer to that universal question. Why?
Hey, Doc, I'm all for that. What's wrong with making a few bucks on the side?
So I just watched the tape, and I gotta say it feels really good to be back with all of our old friends. Michael J. Fox, Christopher Lloyd, Elizabeth Shue. Wait, what? I thought Claudia Wells played Marty's girlfriend. What the hell is Elizabeth Shue doing in this film?
What?
I don't know. But since we're talking about Elizabeth Shue, I have a little confession to make. Actually, it's more of an apology. Because on our very first episode of VHS Breakdown, when we reviewed The Karate Kid, I made some uncalled for remarks about Elizabeth Shue that I regret. Let's think about Elizabeth Shue. She's a little hefty by today's standards. First of all, who the hell am I to make fun of Elizabeth Shue's weight? I'm goddamn humongous!
Oh, I didn't warn you.
But besides that, Elizabeth Shue is totally hot. She makes the flux capacitor in my pants go to 88 miles per hour. What? But yeah, so now she's in the film instead of Claudia Wells. But at least Marty's parents, Leah Thompson and Crispin Glover, are back. Except, wait! That's not Crispin Glover?
What, Lorraine?
Apparently they just hired a look-alike instead of paying Crispin Glover enough to come back to the film. Which is so ghetto.
What the hell is this?
I mean, what's this new actor's name? Shady McShadeballs?
You're right. Well, you're right.
Although one thing they didn't change is my most favorite and unnecessary line in the entire trilogy.
What happens to us in the future? What, do we become assholes or something?
There is one big change in this scene though, and that's that Shady Gay Biff sees them fly off in the DeLorean, setting this film up for some wackiness. So they arrive in 2015, except it's raining and it's nighttime, so other than some flying cars, we really can't see any future yet.
Alright, Doc, what's going on, huh? Where are we? When are we?
Not only that, Michael J. Fox does the worst job of explaining what's happening to his girlfriend Jennifer.
Jennifer, I don't know how to tell you this, but you're in a time machine.
It's the worst explanation ever. It might be the worst line I've ever seen in a movie. Well, the second worst line.
Gee, that's funny. I've never seen garbage eat garbage before.
And of course, immediately all she cares about is how big her wedding was.
Was it a big wedding?
And what her dress looked like.
I'm gonna be able to see my wedding dress.
Wow.
And how big her house is. And man, 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 man.
God, I wonder where we live. I bet it's a big house with lots of kids.
Even Doc gets sick of her yapping.
Doc, what the hell are you doing?
And he Bill Cosby's her ass and knocks her out, Men in Black style.
It's just a sleep-inducing alpha rhythm generator. She was asking too many questions, and no one should know too much about their future. This way, when she wakes up, she'll think it was all a dream.
Which, by the way, that's a pretty cool and helpful invention that he uses there. So helpful that they never use it again in the entire trilogy.
Well, you're the doc, Doc.
Why wouldn't they use that thing for every other problem that comes up?
Wait, stop!
So Jennifer's knocked out, they finally land, and Marty can finally check out the future.
The future. Unbelievable.
Although not before Doc explains to him the reason that they're there.
Look what happens to your son.
My son.
And that's to stop Marty's son from getting arrested with Biff's grandson, Griff. Except wait, this is the big reason that Doc decides to go to the future? To save Marty's dopey kid?
It's your kids, Marty. Something's got to be done about your kids.
What about saving people from huge disasters like Columbine, or stopping 9/11, or even getting those kids away from Jerry Sandusky? Oh well, I guess saving Marty Jr. is way more important than all of that.
You see, this one event starts a chain reaction that completely destroys your entire family.
So before they leave, they hide Elizabeth Shue in the garbage. Because it's the future and, I'm just kidding, it's a terrible plan!
Hey, what about Jennifer? We're not just gonna leave her here.
Don't worry, she'll be safe. It'll just be for a few minutes.
But finally, we're here. The motherfucking future.
The future.
And if I'm being honest, they really got a lot of things about the future right. Goofy wardrobes, overpriced nostalgia restaurants, extremely poor movie sequels.
Shark still looks fake.
But Marty walks into Cafe 80s, which is so ghetto, because we're finally in the future, and the first thing he does is go to an 80s cafe? Come on, dude! Then we meet Grandpa Biff, who is back to being a complete a-hole.
Tough break, kid. Must be rough being named after a complete butthead.
And for some reason, he feels the need to explain all about Marty Jr.'s dad to Marty.
Your old man? Mr. Loser? What?
Which is very helpful to us, the viewer. But I'm pretty sure Marty Jr. knows this story already, considering, you know, it's his dad. While Marty's waiting for his son, he decides to play a quick game of Wild Gunman. The first foreshadowing of the third film when they go to the Wild Wild West. It also foreshadows who will lead the Fellowship of the Ring to Mordor. Because holy balls, is that Frodo Baggins? That's right, it's Elijah Wood in his first movie role. One in which he's not impressed with Marty's skills at all.
You mean you have to use your hands? That's like a baby's toy.
Mostly because only babies play games with their hands.
Baby's toy.
Or do they? Do they, Gandalf? Then we finally meet Marty Jr., who is a total nerd. In fact, if the Tri-Lambs are still around in 2015, I'm pretty sure he'd be a member.
Are you guys looking to join a sorority?
A sorority? No.
We also meet Griff, who is a futuristic bag of bully douche, just like everyone else in his family.
Your shoes unbelt!
Although to his credit, he does have an Asian and a woman in his gang, which is very progressive, unlike the members in Biff's old gang in the 50s.
Hey, beat it, Spook. This don't concern you.
Who you calling Spook, Peckerwood?
But Marty declines Griff's offer. He walks away, totally achieving his mission. That is until Griff calls him a chicken.
What's wrong, McFly? Chicken?
which we all remember from the first film he totally hates.
What did you call me, Griff?
Except, no we don't, because that never happens in the first film. They just added into this one and the next one to be a plot point. Griff's about to beat up Marty, who tries his old tricks that apparently don't work in the future.
Hey, look!
But there's one trick that works in any era, and that's the one taught to us by Mr. Miyagi. The old shot to the Bowleans trick. So Marty runs away. We have another chase scene, except this time it's on a hoverboard instead of a skateboard. But Marty gets away.
Holy shit!
He totally saves his son's future, and all they have to do is go back home to 1985. That's until Marty learns that the Cubs win the World Series and starts to think, hey, why not use this time machine to finally make some ducats? Unfortunately though, they can't leave yet, because that super fantastic plan of leaving Jennifer alone stranded in the trash, it didn't work, and the cops pick her up, and now they have to go to their house to save her. And apparently they need to save Jennifer before she meets her future self, because as Doc explains it, if she does, it might end all of human existence.
The encounter could create a time paradox, the results of which could cause a chain reaction that would unravel the very fabric of the space-time continuum and destroy the entire universe.
Which seems like a much bigger risk than Marty's dumb kid getting arrested, but whatever. So Jennifer ends up hiding out in her future home and learning about her luxurious wedding.
I get married in the chapel, oh love.
Jennifer also sees her in-laws, who for some reason conveniently explain Marty's accident to his daughter, who would probably already know about it, because it's his daughter.
About 30 years ago, your father tried to prove he wasn't chicken and he ended up in an automobile accident.
But we, the viewer, didn't know. So thanks for the explanation, poor writers.
Automobile accident.
Why Doc didn't want to use the time machine to stop that incident, I'll never know. While they're trying to save Jennifer, old Biff steals the DeLorean and pieces out and goes back in time. Except, how does this moron know how to operate a time machine? And how does he know it has to go to 88 miles per hour? I don't know, but he does. Then we watch future Marty getting bullied by his coworker Needles, who's a guy holy balls, is that Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers? But Marty gets caught up by his boss.
McFly!
And he gets fired, apparently by fax machine. Although fax machine, they didn't know they were gonna have iPhones by now.
It was nothing like that, penis breath!
But Jennifer meets her future self, and the world doesn't end. She just passes out. Although, did you catch Doc saying afterwards that he actually predicted that?
She encountered her older self and went into shock. Just as I predicted. She'll be fine.
Relax, guy. I'm pretty sure you said the world was gonna end.
Jennifer could conceivably encounter her future self. The consequences of that could be disastrous.
One thing he does correctly predict, though, is that they'll be going back in time to the Old West. Once again setting up the third film.
My only regret is that I'll never get a chance to visit my favorite historical era, the Old West.
All right with the third film. It is so poorly written. But they get back to 1985. They once again decide to randomly leave Jennifer alone out in the open, probably because it worked so well the first time.
Wait a minute, we're just gonna leave her here on the porch?
The disorientation will help convince her that it was all a dream.
And Marty finally gets to go to bed. Except, wait!
Hey, wait a minute. What are you doing in my room?
There wasn't a young black girl in his bed when he left this morning. At least I don't think there was. But there definitely wasn't an angry black father ready to crack his skull with a 34 Easton.
It's okay, I don't want any trouble.
You got trouble now, you piece of shit!
But Marty escapes.
Oh, right, you keep running, sucker!
We find out that in this 1985, the country has been taken over by gangs and thugs and dirtbags, and it's run by a narcissist billionaire who disrespects women and puts his big dumb name on all his buildings. Which means this movie turns into a documentary about what life will be like under a President Trump. Marty runs into Biff's old crew of Billy Zane and Casey Siemaszko from 3 O'Clock High.
You can take that newspaper of yours and wipe off your dick with it.
And they decide to bring him in the easy way. Who whap him? But Marty wakes up in bed getting comforted by his mother and her huge ass boobies.
You're so big.
I mean, these bad boys are bigger than what Gary and Wyatt originally intended for Lisa in Weird Science.
Very nice.
Anyways, we get to see new Biff's parenting and husband skills in action.
You son of a...
Because that's what bad guys did in the 80s. And then Marty commits suicide by jumping off of a building. Oh, 80s suicide jokes. They escape in the DeLorean, and they have to go back to, you guessed it, 1955. So Marty picks up some sweet 50s clothes, and we see the meeting between Biff and older Biff from the future.
Oh yeah, who are you, Miss Lonely Hearts? Just get in the car, butthead.
I thought Doc said that if Jennifer met her future self, the world would end. Or at least she would pass out. How come these two assholes can meet and there's no problem?
What you call it, butthead? Butthead.
It's the worst movie! And to drive that point home, Doc Brown meets a younger version of himself.
Well, thanks. Nice talking to you. Maybe we'll bump into each other sometime again in the future. Or in the past.
Doc, I love you, but that was one poor theory, my dude. So Marty thinks he gets back the almanac.
Yes!
Except he doesn't.
No. Ooh la la. Ooh la la.
And it seems like all hope is lost until he remembers he's got one shot to get it. And that's when his dad drops the ultimate 50s whap-em. Whap-em! Later, dick! But Marty gets the almanac.
Hey, did you just take his wallet? He just took that guy's wallet.
We relive the Johnny Be Good scene. He re-loses the almanac.
Steal my stuff.
Whoa! We have another chase scene where Biff ends up in manure again. And Marty re-gets the almanac. Although that big tunnel they drive through in the end, that's the same tunnel they used to get to Toontown in Who Framed Roger Rabbit, another movie directed by Robert Zemeckis, which is also another movie that starred Christopher Lloyd. And we also saw a Roger Rabbit doll back at Cafe 80s. So if this film taught us anything, it's that Who Framed Roger Rabbit is a great film. Well, it looks like we're out of time. Which means you're gonna have to wait for the future to see the second half of Season 3 of VHS Breakdown. Which leaves only one question. What would Griff do to smash this tape?
Batter up!
Part Dose Edition. God damn.